Hello, Guyanese. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that you have had a good couple of days. I want to make it short again today. Quickly, I just want to recap. Again, we are asking our government and Mr. Trotman, please let us work to get this contract changed so we can have a new source of income, a real source of revenue for our people. So I went through this already, and we talk about the insurance that will be paid and so on, and everything else that need to be done. We can distribute cash to our people, and of course put funds into the sovereign wealth fund, and now we have money for economic development. We talk about public sector employee. I think 36,000 might be a good um, way to start. We can always increase it as we get more. As more oil is found, we can increase our rate of pay there in Guyana. And as I said, not only is the oil, but also we look at all our natural resources. That is gold, diamond, timber, and so on. We need to start get the bulk of the revenue should stay for the benefit of the people of Guyana. It's our resource, and then we should benefit from it. Not that we don't want the persons who come to exploit it to get their fair share. They will. But we need to have our part of that pie as well. Okay. So what I want to talk next is what we can do with the rest of the money. And again, this is only 1.2 million barrel at $80 per barrel. It can be more or less. So I'm saying, let us start opening up our interior and form communities. Now I'm saying that because there's a video that is online, and I wish that all of you look at it. I'm not permitted to show it on my video because it's those things YouTube will not allow it. But go and look at it, and it spoke of the 10 cities that are likely to go underwater by 2030. Now, some discount it as propaganda. But what we do know is that Guyana is below sea level. And if we are talking about climate change and all these things about, the earth changing and there's climate change and all these things going to happen. If there's climate change and the ocean rise, what do you think will happen to Guyana? What will happen to our coastline? And that is what I'm talking about. We are spending billions and billions of dollars currently doing work along the eastern seaboard of Guyana. Is that wise spending? It's not that if Georgetown will be underwater, the question is when. So we can do whatever we want. We can pretend that global warming and climate change is not happening. What our politicians like to do, we like to talk about global warming and climate change on one hand. On the other hand, we are pretending as if nothing is going to happen. Now Guyana is below sea level. And if Guyana is below sea level, what do we expect? And if you want proof, my fellow Guyanese, go to the quarantine. Look what the Atlantic is doing to the quarantine. It's encroaching in the land. Go to 63 Beach. Go to all the beaches along the quarantine coast. And you will see what I'm talking about. It is this month end, we'll have a super moon. That means the moon is closer to Earth. What do you think will happen with a high tide? Most of Georgetown water will top over on the east coast, on the west coast, in Leguan, in Wakenham, on the quarantine. Water will spill over on the west bank of Demerara. Water will spill over onto the land again. So it's not if we will be underwater, the question is when. And if 2030 is far away, let's say they're wrong, and Georgetown will be underwater in 2040. Are we preparing for that? Are we preparing that if the eastern seaboard of Guyana goes underwater, what then? We are madly doing projects along the eastern seaboard, that is in Georgetown, on the east coast, on the west coast. What are we doing? How can we say we talk about global warming and climate change, knowing Guyana is below sea level? Do you think the sea going to come up and say, oh, this is Guyana, we're going to stop here? We need thinkers. We need planners. The president got his PhD in urban planning. Mr. President, you are more than qualified to lead this fight, but I don't think the government policy is correct. We have boasted of giving 50,000 house lots. You're giving it where? You're giving it to along the coast. What will happen in 10, 15 years from now when all those places are underwater? You know, we keep blaming the coalition, and I used to support them. I support them when they were campaigning for election. I disagree with their policies. But one thing they did right, in my view, they did not give out as much house lots. Whether they were seeing the future or they just didn't know how to manage it, that's a different story. Now we have boasted for the last 3 years, we have given up almost 50,000 house lots. So now these people are going to go to the bank will lend them money, they will build their home, and in 10 years, it will be underwater. Then what do we do then? You see, here in the United States, if Florida goes underwater, if New York goes underwater, if it happens suddenly, then we are all dead. But if it takes time, then there's so much infrastructure in the United States that all of Florida can move out of Florida and go into the mid-state because they're developed. Here in New York or the eastern seaboard here. Everyone can move out if we have time and go inland America, go middle America. It's developed. There is road all over the place. There's rails, there is airlines, you name it, you can get there. What do we say about Guyana? If the people in Guyana have 2 days to move, where are they going to? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Now think of it this way. How long was the oil in the Atlantic? It was there thousands of years, hundreds of years. Why did we now discover it, if that's the right term to use? Maybe God has a plan for Guyana. Maybe Guyana will be the savior of the whole Caribbean, because all the Caribbean islands will be underwater. So maybe as we move inland, and we need to go inland, at least 200 miles inside of Guyana. If we go inland, we will survive. If we stay on the coast, we'll be all dead. And that is what the challenge before us. So now we get this oil revenue, and if we were able to get a better deal with Exxon, and we should, then we can use that funds to start develop communities inside of Guyana, not on the coast. So we are going full ahead, building like crazy on the coast, knowing that in a few years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, we don't know, when all of the eastern or northern seaboard will be more north, all the northern seaboard is underwater. Wakenham, Leguan, Essequibo, Parika, West Coast, West Bank, East Coast, East Bank, Quarantine. All those places is likely to be underwater in a couple of years. My fellow Guyanese, in my next video, I want to encourage us what we need to do. And now people follow what the government policy is. And if the government policy is to gradually remove our people from the coast into communities, people will not go into the communities if there is no work. So what do? And that's why in my next video, I will tell you what some of the possible solutions to gradually move our people. People will not move overnight. But if it's a government policy and we let them know that we're in danger of being underwater in 10, 15 years from now, people will begin to think. And we should move our people inland. And as we do that, we can create a brand new Guyana. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.